Okay, folks, it looks like we are back online, so if I can have you take your seats. What's a meeting without a few technical difficulties? And as Todd and I were joking, this is public meeting law in action, so we want to make sure that we are following proper procedure. So with that said, I will continue with introductions. Commissioner Pendleton.
Stakeholders and visitors, I would like to also say I'm so happy to see Alana here as well. My name is David Pendleton. I'm the owner of America's Hub World Tours and Oregon Tour Experts. I'm actively involved in the Portland area on the MERC Commission, as well as the Travel Portland Board, which I've been so proud of the work Jeff and his team has done over the years. In addition to that, I do actively engage in other parts of the tourism industry in the Clackamas County and Lane County as well.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Pendleton. Commissioner Ponzi.
Good morning, everybody. Great to be here. Love the rain. Great to be in Portland. Nice to see everybody. Anna Maria Ponzi, former owner of Ponzi Vineyards, current owner of AM Ponzi and Company, consulting, event, and speaking. Also incoming board member of the Oregon Wine Board, and I am also serving as the interim director for the Wine Studies program at Linfield University. And I also happen to have a really cool nonprofit going on to help foster youth graduate from high school if you want to talk to me about that. But I'm very happy to be here among all of you.
Congratulations, Commissioner Ponzi, on that appointment. Vice Chair Willits.
Good morning, and thank you for the welcome to Portland. It has been a wonderful visit already. Though I live in Sisters, Oregon, this is where people in rural America come to eat dinner at 10 p.m. And walk the streets and grab dessert, hopefully, at midnight, and maybe late night appetizers at 1 at Jake's. Not that I've done that all the time. But this is a spot that I thoroughly enjoy, and it is a place I come to at least quarterly to experience those things with my wife and have a different view of Oregon. And I'm really happy to see progress being made on the comfort I feel in the streets and the great cuisine that's here and coming back. It is valuable to our state and to me personally and my wife's enjoyment of something other than dark skies and beauty, beautiful terrain. But I'm Greg Willits. I have Five Pine Lodge in Sisters, Oregon. I built it and manage it with my family. And I also am chair of Explore Sisters, which is a new DMO in our small town. And we look forward to piggybacking Travel Portland's efforts and creating a nicer place to visit for everybody. Thank you very much for welcoming us.
Thank you, Vice Chair Willits. And I am Lucinda DeNovo, Director of Sales and Events at the Mill Casino Hotel and RV Park, owned by the Coquille Indian Tribe. I also serve as chair of our local DMO, Coos Bay, North Bend, Charleston Visitor and Conventions Bureau, and I am president of the Coos Bay City Council. With that said, I can't tell you how excited I am to be back in Portland, and I really look forward to Jeff and Megan's presentation. Today, we have an opportunity to hear from stakeholder, partners, and public statements. If you plan on making those remarks, please sign in on the sheet, which is just over here on the side of the room. As I said, it is indeed wonderful to be back in Portland. Portland is home to me, and I just want to take this opportunity to thank Scott for his hospitality at the Dossier Hotel. It's just been wonderful. I would like to thank the folks at the Exchange Ballroom for the wonderful hospitality and amazing food that we experienced last night. Yesterday, the Tourism Commission was able to convene for a training session. The Commission received orientations on our legislative history, statutes, public affairs, marketing strategies, global market recoveries, destination stewardship initiatives, investment approaches, and regional programs. I truly want to thank Todd and the entire team for all their work and efforts in making that such an informative and meaningful training. And I'm excited that we will be doing that on an annual basis now. There is always a lot to learn and really an opportunity to spend time with the staff and just learn more about the work that they do is really meaningful to me. So it was a wonderful training. The Commission also continued the discussion of a partial restoration of the CEO's compensation that had been cut 25% during the pandemic. We culminated our training and orientation with a dinner with many of the Travel Oregon staff, and I was once again blown away by the talent and passion of our dedicated team of professionals. With that said, we will move on to the local welcome. So, Commissioners, in holding an in-person meeting throughout the state, one important opportunity we have is to hear from our local partners welcoming us into our community. So it is my pleasure to ask Jeff Miller and Megan Conway of Travel Portland to join us today. Jeff, Megan?
Commissioner DeNovo, Commissioners Todd, it's so nice to have you in Portland. It really is a vote of confidence in the city, and we really appreciate it. I'm joined by Megan Conway, our Chief Strategy Officer, and my partner in crime. And who doesn't like to see their face on the big screen? So let's just go from there. Let's see. It changed here, but not there. Okay, there we go. Smith Travel Research. I wanted to give you an overview of what's happening in the lodging industry in Portland. We definitely have headwinds, and as you can see on the screen, this is from Smith Travel Research. This is the central city, which includes the Lloyd District. You'll see Portland, Central City at the bottom, with a 62% occupancy. Minneapolis and San Francisco are slightly better than us. Red is bad. Green is very, very good. And on the left is for the month of October, and on the right is year to date. We are severely hampered against our competitive set of cities who have recovered to 2019 levels, and we definitely have not. This shows the rooms sold in the central city. The yellow line is 2019, which was a high water mark for the number of rooms sold. 2022 in the dark blue and light blue is 2023. You can see that through the summer months we flatlined. Summer leisure travel did not happen in the city of Portland. This is revenue. Obviously, we depend on that for lodging taxes that fund Travel Portland and the Tourism Improvement District fees. You see the same problematic numbers there. This is for the entire city of Portland, so the rest of the city did not really recover either, and revenue, as you can see, has really flatlined. This is for the year, and you can see January through May, we were up 19% in the city of Portland Plus, which is the entire city. And then beginning in June, you see we flatlined and dropped just a bit, which is really, really concerning. And it's really concerning because we planned our budget early in the year where we assumed a 17% increase on our budget, which would have been 90% of 2019. We believe this, we readjusted our budget to a slow recovery at plus 4% and no recovery at 0% and a decline at -4%. My guess is that we will be somewhere between no recovery and decline. If you look below, you can see the expense budget cuts that we're looking at are somewhere, we're projecting right now about $3.5 million, and we will take $1.5 million of that out of our reserves. Thank goodness we have reserves, but we can do that one time. And so we're in the process right now of making those budget cuts. I'll turn it over to Megan.
I'll also move quickly past the photo. Good morning, Chair DeNovo, Commissioners. Welcome to Portland. I'll share a bit about our consumer sentiment results. And our work overall for our organization is really guided by research, and these consumer sentiment survey results were captured in October. We field this quarterly, and we have a polling size of 1,200 people from across the United States, but we poll a little bit higher on the West Coast, knowing that's where most of our travelers are coming from. So you can see here, when it comes to overall tone of media coverage about Portland, the far right shows that after several quarters of positive growth, this year between Q1 and Q4, we saw a drop in the positive tone, and unfortunately at the same time a rise in the negative tone. Our public relations team earned nearly 350 pieces of positive media coverage this year, and this tells us that even with all of that work, the national front page headlines about the challenges our city continues to face are having a higher impact on those outside perceptions. Portland's appeal saw a nice increase in Q1 of 2023, and while it dropped over the last few quarters, it's not as significant a drop due to the sample size. So this communicates to us that there's still a solid amount of people who have a curiosity about Portland as a destination, which is great. Typically, we have seen thoughts on Portland being welcoming and being safe, trending along the same lines, but that's started to change a little bit, as you can see here on the far right. In the last few quarters, we've seen an increase in the people who agree with the statement that Portland is welcoming, but unfortunately, we're seeing fewer respondents agree when asked if they feel Portland is safe. One of the most important pieces of our research that we look at is what do visitors think who have been here, and we tend to find, and we're returning to strong numbers showing that people love Portland and they do want to come back if they've been here. So it's positive to see this stabilizing, and a little bit deeper cut into this research shows us that there's an even higher propensity for those audiences that are Black or Hispanic who have visited here before to come back. So we'll be experimenting with some additional marketing to those markets in our spring campaign, which we'll talk a little bit more about in a few minutes. We have a 5-person public relations team, and they continue to earn high-value, positive coverage of the city by pitching innovative, diverse, and thoughtful stories. In 2022-23, Portland enjoyed one of its strongest years of positive media attention in travel, lifestyle, culture, and culinary-focused outlets, earning 323 placements with a combined reach of 5.2 billion impressions. And from July through November of this year, the team has already hosted 50 media in Portland. I'll highlight a few of our favorite clips here. As expected, and as all of you kind of mentioned, Portland does have a wonderful culinary scene, and it dominated with extensive coverage of our new restaurants. Gregory Gourdet's spectacular Con led the way, but other restaurants owned by people of color also commanded a lot of coverage. Aside from Bon Appetit, the New York Times, which are both shown here, the team earned significant culinary accolades in Food and Wine, Esquire, Saveur, Sunset, and Robb Report. And wider coverage included headlines in Condé Nast Traveler, Afar, and Travel and Leisure. Coverage of Portland's cultural communities and diverse experiences was significant as we earned placements in outlets such as Essence and Travel Noir. We're proud of this work, and this coverage happens as a result of deliberate efforts to share these stories. The PR team featured minority businesses or diverse story pitches in more than 1,000 engagements with media last year. And now for strategic communications. We've talked a little bit about some of the issues that Portland continues to face, and we are taking on a new project to help chip away at the negative media coverage that we're seeing in the national landscape. So Travel Portland is in the process of selecting a strategic communications firm that will help insert more elected community voices into the national news cycle. This is about taking our communications expertise and an experienced agency partner to focus on improving the reputation of the city. We'll do this by highlighting counterpoints to the continuing negative national news and media trends. And it's important to know we, as Travel Portland, will sort of rarely be a spokesperson or a voice in this conversation. It's about us elevating the other voices of the folks in town who are experts and have perspective and opinion around some of the unique solutions that we're putting together in order to face the challenges that the city continues to have. Next, we're hoping that you might have a chance while you're here to visit our new visitor center. You can see here The location, Greg, I think you were mentioning Jake's. It's not far from Jake's, so you can stop by. This map orients you to where the location is, and our team there is engaging in West End Wednesdays, which is a community effort on the last Wednesday of every month to drive traffic to downtown Portland, which has been really successful. As a culture, city, sensory, inclusive certified venue, the team has sensory bags available, and we're currently serving about 250 visitors a week, with 40% of those being international travelers. The top question our team receives is if there is a hop-on, hop-off city bus tour, which is a service that has not been brought back yet, but we look forward to hopefully having that in the near future. Other top questions are where to eat and where to find public restrooms. Unfortunately, most public restrooms downtown are locked or they're exclusive to employees or consumers. So recognizing this as a critical visitor need, Travel Portland has twice funded keeping restrooms open on weekends throughout key visitor seasons in the downtown core. Moving on to our marketing. Travel Portland's marketing efforts continue to generate leisure demand for Portland, which translates to heads and beds, which is definitely based on the numbers Jeff was sharing, our goal as an organization, but it also increases spending and jobs and businesses throughout the city. So as storytellers and stewards of Portland's reputation as a destination, we attack every part of the marketing funnel every single day. With PR and advertising for top-of-mind awareness, mid-funnel investments in social media, content, and AdWords to drive engagement, and investment with online travel agencies to deliver incremental room nights to the market. Applying this information to the calendar year, you can see here that we're always on with our baseline of PR, social, content, AdWords, and OTAs. And our seasonal advertising campaign in blue will layer over these efforts starting this spring, running through summer to make up for our soft convention calendar, which Jeff will address in a few minutes. The last few years have been challenging ones for Portland, but we have a lot to be proud of. And now is not the time for us to recede into the background. It's time to share the Portland we know and the Portland we love, and we'll do it with our new campaign called Portland, Yours to Share. Our creative partner in this work is Industry, a local firm that's minority owned and led. And to bring the campaign to life, we'll focus on Portland's culinary scene, which our research tells us is our top travel motivator, and we'll complement that with stories about the outdoors, culture, and tax-free shopping. We'll share it with consumers through video, paid social, PR, digital advertising, connected TV, and out of home. And I'll give it back to Jeff to talk more about our convention marketing.
Thanks, Megan. Since Travel Oregon does not work as much in the convention space, I wanted to share some of the work that our team is doing. The convention business is the baseline of the hotel business here in Portland, and without that convention business, we don't create the compression that fills all hotels. And we are facing some headwinds, but we know that getting that business back is job creation. The impacts of COVID and the reputational damage that Portland has suffered has really affected this business pretty severely. This graph shows conventions, the convention calendar, and you can see in 2023 we had a significant year, the year that we're in. 24 drops off a bit. 23 was booked when the Hyatt was starting to open, so those were 5 years out, and so it was a really terrific convention year for 2020, 2021, and 2022, and obviously the pandemic hurt those. In most cities, as conventions canceled, they booked a future year. Because of what was going on in Portland at the time, only 30% of the conventions booked in Portland rebooked for a future year, so we lost 70% of our convention calendar. And we talk about this as a little bit of the cliff, and our job is to avoid the cliff. You can see 25, 26, 27 in future is really difficult. This is the by-month look, and for 25 through 2030, we are in, this looked like we were in pretty dire straits. Red is bad, but white is worse. So this is the extra layer that our competitive set of cities is not seeing. These are tentative pieces of business, however, that our team has been working on to fill the funnel for 25 through 28, and you can see we've done a nice job there. We just need to close the business. We just hosted a FAM this weekend and had amazing comments from those meeting planners, and we know we secured at least 2 pieces of business from that. But we invested heavily in the sales team during the pandemic with training and a look to the future on what we needed to do differently. We had 2 promotions. It Pays to Plan on Portland was a significant promotion of $20 a room night, up to $20,000 for each meeting planner, and we booked 62,000 room nights with this. It was about $1 million investment in the hotel community. Our current promotion is a little smaller, $7 a room night and up to $7,000. These things get expensive really quickly, but Plan on Portland is the theme there, and we know that we really have to invest in our hotel community, and we're working with our other partners to find funds to continue these sorts of promotions. We have had some recent wins, and I'm pretty proud of the team and what they've been able to do. You can see them on the screen there. These are nice pieces of business. The zoos and aquariums, we just had our staff retreat at the zoo on Monday. 5,800 total room nights with that, and this is the 2nd or 3rd time that they've been here. So once we get a convention, we like to bring them back, and they like Portland. We've really done a lot of work on bringing diverse meetings and conventions to Portland, and these are coming in the next 9 months. But this is a market that we have overperformed in because we've really focused on it. And what I would say is we've, working with our team, but also with Angela Nelson, who's our VP of Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion, we have deepened our relationship with organizations like NIA, which is the Native American Youth Association, and many others. So that having those community connections really helps us bring these pieces of business here. The extra layer that we are dealing with is we bring the meeting planner here. They love Portland. They take it and pitch it to their board, their CEO, and that's where we're getting some negative feedback. So we're shifting our convention marketing to half of that will go towards the CEO, the C-suite, the boards through different marketing tactics, as well as but keeping 50% with the meeting planners. The headwinds that we are finding continue to change a bit, but we are seeing some very positive acceptance of Portland. And of course, we're in the 3rd year of our partnership with Sport Oregon, which has been really terrific for us, and it's cementing Portland as a player in the youth and amateur sports arena. We are jointly welcoming Sports ETA, which is the preeminent sports tourism industry convention, to Portland this spring. And noteworthy events such as NASCAR, Formula E will join events like the 2030 Women's Final Four in Portland. And we look forward to more NCAA bids there as well. That's been a terrific partnership for us and certainly for our hotel community. And with that, I will thank you and ask if you have any questions.
Commissioners, any questions or comments for Jeff or Megan?
I did have a question. Thank you so much for being here and for sharing some of the challenges Portland's facing and how that's impacting the city and the industry as a whole. I'm really interested in the booking window on the convention business. Typically, how far out are conventions making commitments?
Citywide conventions are generally 3 to 5 years out, and that's with 1,200 room on peak, 800 to 1,200 room on peak or more. Smaller single hotel pieces of business generally are a year out or so. So we are looking well into the future for the larger conventions, but we have had some success bringing in some conventions in 2027, 28. So we're excited about that.
Great, thank you.
Yep.
David?
Todd, Megan, thanks for the update there. A couple questions. Well, first of all, I want to say the FAM. Outstanding job on your team and all the partners who showed up to assist as well. I happened to have the opportunity to attend 2 of the one lunch and one of the dinner event, and just nothing but wonderful conversations with all the meeting planners that was in town. They loved our city. To your point, it goes back to the board and that next step, and I'm so happy to hear that you're working on a strategy to deal with that. Can you give us some idea in terms of just looking at 2023, how many conferences have you lost, and just what that economic impact of what those numbers actually represent?
I don't have the number right in front of me, but we have had a significant loss of convention business. 23 actually was a very good year for Portland because by the time those conventions got here, they had a lot of questions about public safety. And we actually have a deck that the PR team created that is a public safety deck that our team is able to pitch and take to meeting planners, take them through it. I have probably, last week I had 2 conversations with one CEO of a meeting coming to Portland that was concerned, and another one in Washington, D.C., who had just been here, and their delegates, they'd been here 4 times, the Ecological Society, and they were concerned about public safety. And once we talk them through sort of the changes in Portland and what's happening, we're generally able to keep them. And both of those we were able to keep, not because of me, but because of our team. But those are the conversations that we're having to have with CEOs and meeting planners every day. And the situation on the street is never what they expected it to be. So getting people here is our #1 tactic to make sure that they can see what the streets of Portland look like. We also have a very large convention of meeting planners that we're hosting. We'll invest about $400,000 in bringing them here in January. It's conference direct. So we're doing all the things that we need to do to get people in town to see what Portland actually looks like versus what the news media may make it look like.
And the last question I have for you is, I know you mentioned the COVID and reputation piece, which is a major challenge, but we've got the upcoming election that's already in motion. And so can you share any thoughts or plans that strategy working with the city at all in terms of from a readiness state to address any of the
I was going to ask Megan to answer that.
A couple different things happen at the local level you're talking for election. Yeah, so Portland is in the kind of throes of change of form of government. So one of the big things that will be changing is how many councilors we have, what the structure of the mayor is, and kind of the power or seat of control there. So we're working very closely with our partners at the city. They're one of our main funding sources from the tax standpoint, but also are the ones that approve and administer the Tourism Improvement District or TID dollars that we receive. So we stay, Jeff and I, Amanda, who's here today, Billy, and many of our other staff stay in very close contact with all of our elected officials currently, and we're watching the races very closely to see who's kind of showing up as top candidates and things for both mayor, but also for the rest of the commission.
Travis?
Jeff and Megan, appreciate the information. You'd mentioned kind of the reputation management, damage control, which is probably an uphill battle at times. The negative media that you said you're combating against kind of on a national level, how are you, is it something that's specific, or is it something that you can target market towards that? And then also on the public survey, what's the participation level of that, and what's the resource for that survey?
I'll start with the survey question first. So it's an omnibus survey of 1,200 Americans, and it skews most heavily on the West Coast as far as the sample size goes. So it goes out to a different 1,200 every quarter. It's not the same people. But we have been doing that and monitoring that information since 2019. It was before the pandemic. We had started it as a result of kind of a series of demonstrations that were happening throughout the city and trying to get our finger on the pulse of how were people feeling about that outside the market. Then we flowed into COVID, then we came out on the other side, and we've had a lot of other things that are, worthy of getting survey results and perception on. So we've stuck with that, and it's been really nice to have that quarterly data, and we use it very regularly. We've got a director of research that works with us very closely on that piece. And then coming back to the other side on the reputation piece, which obviously the data that we get from this survey tells us a lot of information. We can sometimes correlate what's happening in the survey around recent national media coverage. So there's some, you can't draw a direct line, but sometimes we can have a little bit of a dotted line to say there was a really big peak in some negative coverage, and then the sentiment when we ran the survey within the next 2 weeks or something like that, we see a significant dip, and then the reverse, if there hasn't been negative coverage, we're seeing it go up. So we know that those things are working in tandem. When we look at the partnership that we'll take on with a strategic communications firm, we will look at at very kind of traditional tactics, like sitting down with the editorial boards at key national publications and talking with the editors or the writers who have put out an article that might have not told the full story or maybe only incorporated one side of the story and that type of thing. It's a lane that sort of no one owns right now, I'll say. I mean, our job is really very specifically within the recruitment and kind of the leisure marketing side of tourism from a public relations standpoint and talking about Portland to those outside audiences. But when you look at the role of someone like a public information officer with the city or something like that, this type of communications doesn't really land on anybody's plate, and we feel there's a need for it. So we'll be doing it in partnership with the city and some of our other elected offices, hopefully. And we already have kind of a slew of spokespeople that we want to bring into the mix. It's not just about elected officials, but it's about, you know, a company like Thesis, which recently just reinvested and doubled down by building their new headquarters in Slabtown in Portland, and other small businesses that are really keeping their feet on the ground here in Portland, and that matters in the bigger narrative. Those stories aren't being told right now, so.
Good to hear. Thank you.
Yep.
Do you track group business, and at what stage you call a group a convention?
Would you say that again?
Just family groups or friends and family, smaller tour groups, do you track them separately?
We haven't targeted them separately. We really have worked with meeting planners specifically. It's a segment that's hard to manage because they are so, they are not as organized. So it's been a tough one for us. We have been doing very specific work with the limited service hotels, with Waze and with some Expedia investments that we've done specifically for limited service hotels, and worked with Ketan Patel and Ash Patel on our board to help craft what actually will work for those. So we've really tried to be to look at the breadth of the hotel product in Portland, because we know all of it is important, and I think we've been really successful in a couple of those projects.
Thank you.
David?
One last question. Can you share? Working? Okay. Can you share any strategies or efforts you're making to work with the hotelers, which has, you know, they're impacted a lot, but what are you doing collaborating and collecting together to address many of the issues?
Yeah, we on our board we have 13 hoteliers of 31 people. So we have a great roster of hoteliers that we work with. That is a broad group of them. The 5 largest hotels I just took a week and a half ago to visit with the mayor so that they could have a voice directly with him. It was a very, very good meeting. They clearly are interested in how the streets will continue to be cleaned up, what the programs are. We also have a secondary board, the Visitors Development Fund Board, which has 6 elected officials, which includes the 2 elected officials from the county, the city, and Metro. So we are in the room with the elected officials and those hoteliers. There's hoteliers and rental car representation there. So there is no one that we aren't talking to, and I spend most of my time in politics and finances.
Well, overall, I think you've done a good job, because I'm fortunate enough to see some of the work that Travel Portland has done, working with elected officials, hotelers, and the community as a whole, and the business community as well. So, you know, kudos to you and your efforts. But to get over this, it's going to take all of us working together. So thanks, Todd.
And we are getting there. I will say we are getting there.
Yeah.
David, I just want to come in behind you and echo that, because you know, at Travel Oregon, we've had the opportunity, albeit this is going to be a somewhat anecdotal illustration, but, you know, in hosting media that have come in, you know, perhaps working with Brand USA, so global media coming into Oregon, beginning their experience here in Portland, visiting the Willamette Valley wine country, and then I was having dinner with some of them on the coast, and there was a journalist in particular who said, I specifically selected this trip because I wanted to see Portland for myself, you know? So they've been hearing about major metropolitan areas in America. He specifically had an interest in Portland, wanted to experience it for himself. And basically he looked at me and he was like, I don't get it, you know? Because his experience here was terrific. You know, did he see homelessness? Yes, you know? But his overall experience, he still felt that warm welcome. He still experienced an amazing culinary scene, you know, and a vibrancy of a city, and wanted to make sure that he was sharing that with me. So, as you said when you and I were saying hello this morning, Jeff, sometimes the lifestyle section is battling the front page, and the work that you are doing, you, Megan, and your entire team are doing to go right at that perception problem is noticed and noted, and certainly very much appreciated. I mean, here you are telling us that you're looking at cutting your budget over $3 million, or drawing from your reserve to help backfill that shortfall. And yet you're still making sure that visitor experience is taken care of by funding a visitor center, keeping bathrooms open in downtown, doing the practical day-to-day, while also getting on the phone with CEOs to make sure they still bring their meeting to Portland. And you guys are to be applauded and celebrated for the work that you're doing, so thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Jeff and Megan. On Wednesday, November 22nd, the Commission meeting notice was posted to the Commission meeting webpage. Notice was sent through our industry communications, and today's meeting agenda and a link to this live stream were posted. Today's opportunity to hear from our stakeholders and partners is really an invitation to our partners to provide us with information, updates, and constructive thoughts regarding Oregon's travel and tourism industry. I'd also like to remind everyone that a comment form lives live continually on our industry meeting page, should you like the opportunity to provide us with your thoughts and insights. There were no online comments received today, but we do have a public comment from David Duncan from Gray Line. David, would you like to join us up front?
I'm Dave Duncan, General Manager, Gray Line of Portland and Pink Trolley Sightseeing. And my only thought that I wanted to pass on, and it seems to dovetail with the priorities that the city is facing, is I would like to see Travel Portland, Travel Oregon encourage PBOT to create a friendly zone for commercial vehicles. I think David might agree with me on that. So I'm going to take off my Gray Line hat and just say, I think to create activity in downtown Portland, it would be great if there was a location set aside for commercial vehicles, tour operators to have a place that's friendly to park at for short periods of time to drop and go. And I'll give an example in Victoria, BC. I was just up there last month, and they have a great zone with a lot of access for commercial operators, so that there is a place that the guest feels comfortable in. I think it needs to be very much a central city area, so that it not only creates activity, but it creates a comfort zone for guests that are staying in the city, wondering where they can go to board their tours, etc., and not be out on the periphery where it's still questionable. And that's really my only comment.
Thank you, David. Commissioner Pendleton, did you want to make a comment in regards to that?
No, I can't agree no more. I mean, I think he said it all right there. From a safety perspective, it makes good sense, and I've always been concerned about that since the day I started my business back in 2007.
David, thank you for your comments. The next item is commission business, and so I'd like to ask the commissioners, I'd like to confirm that everyone has received and had a chance to review their commission packets, including the financials, which were posted on the meeting page. Commissioners, yes? Okay, prior to our financial update, I would like to inform the group that in October, Vice Chair Willits conducted interviews for those interested in serving on the Finance Committee. And I'm pleased to announce that Commissioner Stevenson and Commissioners Pendleton have agreed and were selected to serve. So many thanks to both of you for serving on this committee. With that said, I'd also like to thank Vice Chair Willits for reviewing the financials with me, Commissioner Stevenson and Pendleton, Todd and Kathleen prior to the meeting. Greg, could you give us an update on the financials?
Yes, and first I want to say thank you to Aaron and David for joining the team. I appreciate your tutelage and knowledge. Thank you, Chair DeNovo, for for the introduction. We met and reviewed financials, including fiscal year-to-date financials for fiscal year 24. They were included in our commission materials. Oh, so sorry. Looking at included in our commission materials and have been posted to the industry site. Looking at current fiscal year to date as updated during the financials call November 20th, through November, we have received $21.1 million in transient lodging tax, or 48.3% of the current $43.7 million budgeted. Year over year, TLT is down 4% compared to the same time frame fiscal year 23, with quarter 1 and quarter 2 running slightly behind forecasted numbers. Note that TLT funds we receive are based on the Oregon's Department of Revenue timing and processing the tax returns. Compared to fiscal year 19, TLT is up 24% after adjusting for the change in the tax rate. Do commissioners have questions or comments?
Okay, with no questions or comments, we will move to approval of the minutes. Has everyone had the opportunity to review the September minutes? And are there any questions in regards to those minutes? No? Okay. With that said, I will take a motion for approval.
So moved.
Second. Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve the September minutes. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Okay, motion carries, and the September 12th, 13th Commission meeting minutes are approved and will be posted to the Commission section of the Travel Oregon Industry website. I will now turn this over to Todd.
All right. Commissioners, this is our opportunity to kind of move into the reports and updates and discussion portion of our agenda this morning. And the first presentation that we have this morning is being brought to us by Vince Porter, who is our policy advisor in Governor Kotek's office. Vince, please feel free to come on up, and Sarah will get everything switched over from an AV standpoint. As Vince is getting settled, let me just tell you this. I've had the great pleasure of knowing and working with Vince for many, many years. Vince was initially when we first met, he was the director of the Oregon Office of Film and Television. And so we worked together closely in that capacity. And basically, Vince has devoted much of his professional career to public service. He has served 2 governors in this policy advisor role. We worked together very early on with the work of what became Oregon 22. It was originally Oregon 21, but did become Oregon 22 over the course of that, the pandemic, of course. But I can tell you that as a policy advisor, the travel and tourism industry in Oregon is incredibly well served because Vince is, first of all, very proactive in reaching out to me with items that he believes we would want to know about. He's also phenomenally responsive when I go to him with issues and items that I think he may want to know about. And through it all, he actually, when he came into this role, initiated we need to make sure we're getting together a couple times every month in person or online and just staying abreast and staying on top of what each other is working on, and he initiated that. And I'm just really grateful to have an individual in the governor's office with that kind of respect and awareness of the role the travel and tourism industry plays in the state. So Vince, it's an honor to welcome you to the Oregon Tourism Commission meeting and to bring us an update on the work of the governor's Portland Central City Task Force.
Thank you, Todd. And thank you to you just for all the work that you do. I know we do meet frequently, but I'm confident that when we are dealing with other fires in the governor's office, that we are in good hands with your leadership at Travel Oregon. And Chair DeNovo and members of the committee, thank you all for giving me the opportunity to come and talk to all of you. And the purpose of today was sort of on the heels of Travel Portland's presentation, is to give you all an update on the governor's work on the Central City Task Force that was convened in the end of September in coordination with the Oregon Business Council. It was, a lot. We did have quite a few people asking us, why is the governor convening some work when we have a city of government and a metro government and a county government here to work on the issues here in Portland. But I will say, you know, she toured all 36 counties this year and met with many different people. Maybe some of you were on some of those visits, but I think the one consistent theme, almost no matter where you went, whether it was Boardman or the coast or anywhere, was she was often asked, like, what are we going to do about Portland? And so she took that feedback very seriously, and thankfully found a partner in Oregon Business Council to put together a very short and quick task force to try and, you know, lift up some ideas and bring forward some short-term action items to help partner with our local partners and see what can be done. It ended up being co-chaired with the CEO of the Standard, Dan McMillan, who's been a great partner, and I know they've had a lot of good hard work. And then also upwards of 47 members served on the task force. If that wasn't enough people, we also had 5 subcommittees where I think ultimately upwards of 150 people served on those subcommittees as well. So there were quite a few people. And then also just one thing that caught us by surprise, we put out Eco Northwest staffed was the project managing group. And they put out a survey, and we had upwards of 9,000 responses about just the task force and just what people's feedback was on what's happening in our city and what ideas could be brought. Just quickly, the subcommittees, because I'm here to talk about one in particular, but the subcommittees consisted of one focused on community safety, one on livable neighborhoods, one on housing and homelessness, and then 2 that I staffed, one on taxes and services, and then the final one was the Central City Value Proposition, which Nolan Leinhardt from ZGF, who was the chair of that committee, liked to often call that one, that was the Optimism Subcommittee. So the final recommendations for the task force will be unveiled on Monday at the Oregon Business Leadership Summit. Hopefully some of you will all attend, but I'm sure there'll be plenty of coverage on those. And certainly, I can certainly allude to, but as Todd is well aware of, I think every single word is being wordsmithed this week, and so we want to make sure that we'll hold on specific recommendations until Monday. But did want to talk about the Value Committee. There was some really great work that Nolan did. He wanted as much input and as many good ideas, and one of the things he had was, I think, upwards of 30 different listening sessions. I think Mike Thielen is in the room. Mike hosted one focused just on our food and culinary industry, but just every different, one on arts and culture, one on tourism. So really trying to coalesce about what is our short-term and long-term vision for the central city. And the subcommittee came up with this statement, which is sort of an aspirational view of that the central city is the region's revitalized gathering place. It's people and places attract and welcome visitors from around the city, region, state, and the world. They come to attend events, indulge in world-class food, play in the parks, celebrate culture, and cheer on their team. It's a gateway for visitors to Forest Park, the Willamette Valley, mountains, waterfalls, and the Pacific Ocean. And there was a lot of, actually, I think an entire meeting was spent on just like, how do we lay out our vision? And I think that was one thing that, you know, I certainly want to impress on this commission is, I think the feedback we heard is that our central city of Portland is not just here to benefit Portland, but it is the gateway to the rest of the state. And if it is not being lifted up and it is not being activated, it brings our entire state down as well. So we really wanted to think about what could be done to activate the central city to benefit. And another piece I would just highlight is what do we mean by the central city? This was another hotly debated topic because certainly the geography could expand, quite a bit, even into the suburbs. But it was really, the focus of this task force was really these neighborhoods that I have outlined here in this map. Because we felt like if we could keep it specific and focused, that there could be specific solutions tied in with that. So what we're talking about today as far as like what role Travel Oregon could do in partnership with local partners, really focusing on this specific district here that includes both downtown, the Pearl, Old Town, and then on the east side, the Lloyd District, Central East Side, and the Lower Albina. So the theme that we heard on the tourism and visitor front was really like, what can we do to activate? There's plenty of great events that we have still today, but many that we have seen not revitalized since the pandemic. And a lot of feedback came from the subcommittee focused on really finding ways to meaningfully activate our central city that would bring visitors back down to the core area. And a lot of this, we definitely tried to keep this committee on the vision and the optimism, but there was certainly acknowledgement of what the other committees are focused on, which is, we need to make sure that that there is a clear path to having a safe and clean central city that gives people the comfort of coming back down. But we really wanted to focus on what we can do to activate, assuming these other actions are in place. So that really gets into activation programming. And what I think you'll see in some of the recommendations, or a specific recommendation, is like, what can Travel Oregon do? And then first I want to acknowledge, I know Todd and his entire team have always been really great collaborators with Travel Portland and have made many investments to benefit Portland. So this is not a start from zero. This is kind of like just building on the momentum that Travel Oregon has always done. But like, how can we intentionally look heading into next year about some meaningful and significant investments to really help activate the central city that would be in partnership with both Travel Portland, Prosper Portland, and others who are trying to really get things moving in a positive direction. And ultimately focused on driving out-of-town visitors back into our central city. And these are just some examples. I think I don't need to probably share them with Todd. I think he's well aware, and I'm sure all of you know what Travel Oregon has done in the past, but what can we do to expand programming and events to build on a more positive track record, but not just in like a one-time, but events that can come back every year that we can count on that are going to be really consistent programming. How can we continue to build and amplify our central city cultural institutions, invest in the programming that meet our CTP. I should have had my note. I know you probably, the regional
Cooperative tourism
Cooperative
program.
tourism, thank you. For some reason, could never get that one memorized. And then bring back, like I said, events. And ultimately that, we believe, will help boost Travel Portland's numbers, the hotel room numbers, and ultimately create a gateway that we believe would filter out through the rest of the state. So that's sort of what you should expect to see coming out of the recommendations on Monday. And I'm happy to answer questions about the task force or anything else that you all want to ask me.
Terrific. Vince, thanks for the overview. I don't know how many of the commissioners are able to attend. Commissioner Youngblood, I believe you are going to be in attendance. I know I'll be there, and other members of the Travel Oregon team will be there as well. Vince, I'm grateful. Again, when I was speaking to proactivity and responsiveness, a lot of open dialogue as these recommendations have been in development, and as Vince mentioned, they still are, and we will know more with some sense of finality on Monday in terms of what that final recommendation will be that will be brought forward from the task force. But with that, I do want to afford commissioners an opportunity to engage with Vince while we have him here.
Just a comment. I just want to thank Governor Kotek's leadership in this space and just being really committed to this and making this recovery happen hopefully quicker and in such a collaborative way. So just thank you.
Well, absolutely. And one thing I would say that the governor has certainly realized is we need better coordination and collaboration. And I think she sees her role to continue to use her convening authority to bring people together. One of the things that we found in many of the subcommittees is we just need to find even more opportunities to get people talking and finding creative solutions. And we're absolutely committed to that and working with the local partners as well.
Commissioner Ponce, please.
Hi, Vince. Thank you for the presentation. It's great to see this from the governor's office. You mentioned the folks on the task force. There's many of them. You mentioned the subcommittees. You also mentioned that you want this to go statewide. And so my question is, are there any representatives outside of the city that are part of the task force? For example, from the Willamette Valley or otherwise, so that those voices can also be part of this think tank?
Yeah, thank you, Maria. There probably were. I think we really did try to focus on, I mean, it's funny, when this task force was announced, we were, I think, caught off guard by we shouldn't have been, but like the amount of interest of people wanting to be was a bit overwhelming. So to even whittle it down to 47 was a challenge. That's why sort of we brought in the survey and certainly other ways. One thing I will say is that there will be an intentional effort to keep this ongoing as far as when the task force's work is ultimately done. But there will be some follow-on work that would, continue on. As far as this, my comment about statewide is sort of the intent was that if we can get some positive momentum here, that we believe that will filter out into benefiting people outside the state. But our focus had been really on what can we do inside that geographic area. So that is where we probably focused our membership. But again, I'm sure that there were probably some outside of the central city, but I don't remember specifics.
I appreciate that, and I appreciate focusing in the city. Obviously, those are the folks that can really help firsthand. I think that the idea of having folks from all over the state really help for Oregonians to understand the real problems that are in the challenges that we're having in the city, and may have another lens to contribute to that conversation. So that's why I brought that up. But thank you for your efforts. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Sorry. Thank you for your presentation, Vince. In many communities throughout Oregon right now, there's conflict and conversation around livability and tourism. Are you seeing more alignment in the Central District in those two coming together and benefiting one another?
Say more about what you mean by livability and like the conflict there.
The community at large, welcoming tourism and increased tourism. Are you seeing any of that?
I think because we've seen the dip and people felt that impact where restaurants are closed, or because we are not bringing in visitors, I think people do recognize that and see that as an option. There's probably still some natural issues around what's the right balance between serving our residents and locals versus finding that balance. But I think people when you start, we've been on such a good positive long trend of growth in just getting people here, that when that dipped, I think people did definitely feel it, and people are more open to looking for solutions. But I haven't really gotten into like what it looks like in the rest of the state in terms of those issues, but I'm sure when this work concludes, we'll probably start looking. But I think the good news is at the local level, there's a lot of effort and positive energy towards helping out and promoting tourism back into the city.
Thank you.
Vince, thank you so much for this presentation, and I feel deep gratitude for the governor's work in this area, because the fate of Portland certainly impacts the rest of the state, and this is a statewide issue from my perspective. The question I have is really more about Portland's perception around the state of Oregon, and if there's work being done to try to welcome Oregonians back to Portland. The official legal description of tourism, I believe, is a 50-mile radius. So, Megan did a great job, and Jeff, talking about the national perception of Portland and the challenge in bringing people back to the city from outside of the state of Oregon. But I think there's an equal challenge in encouraging Oregonians that live in other parts of the states to be willing to come to Portland. And the local news coverage is often incredibly really negative as well, and that's, you know, serving areas 50 miles or more away from Portland as well. So in terms of that effort to help Oregonians feel comfortable in the city, is there work being done in that way as well, focused statewide versus nationally?
Absolutely. I think, you know, I think someone had said it earlier, I mean, or maybe it was in a conversation, you know, we need to be talking more optimistically about our city and our maybe even surrounding areas, and identifying the positive things that are happening as well. And certainly we feel that celebrating and identifying those positive events and opportunities happening would bring people from our state back. But we probably also have a little bit of work to do just to be talking amongst ourselves and how are we rallying. I was certainly have been heartened. I know Megan brought up thesis, but you know, the community engagement that people are taking on right now, irrespective of, instead of waiting for a task force things to happen, there's been several different trash cleanup events where communities have taken action and done their own thing. I know Wyden and Kennedy has started a group focused on I think it's Portland's What We Make It sort of campaign that's a real grassroots campaign. And Mike was just talking to me about Revitalize Portland. And so it's going to take like our entire community, both inside the city and outside, to really kind of lift up the work. And yeah, we all need to kind of show up and demonstrate our commitment.
I'd just like to add to that I live in downtown area, and my neighbors don't come to downtown because of safety concerns. So we're talking about the state, but also people who are right in downtown are kind of going outside. Just a comment.
Travis?
I know when it comes to tourism, public safety and security is always a concern. And since we've been here the last few days, I've noticed an uptick in presence, which is a positive. We, you know, Greg and I were talking about this the other night, and it's encouraging to see that, because you need to have that safety aspect when it comes to, you know, families coming to town and wanting to explore. So thank you.
Yeah, one thing I would say is, you know, I know the governor has been pushing everyone to not just wait for the recommendations to come out, that if there are things that we can be doing immediately, you know, simple thing like calling up Union Pacific and saying, hey, how can we work with you and clean up the properties that you own, because that's been identified as an area where we could pick up, you know, improve the look of our city. I know that the state police have been a bit more active downtown since this task force is convened, and I know they've been collaborating really well with Portland Police. So I know that at the state level we've been trying, but I know that continues the mayor and this entire city has really taken a step forward in trying to like take some action. So,
Other questions? David?
First of all, I want to say thank you for taking the time to come and share with us. And I just want to say, first of all, I own a business here that I started in 2007 that operates in this Portland area. And so I'm very passionate about Portland, but I've also been very impacted personally by many of the things that's happened throughout the city. So I'm so pleased to hear that the governor is taking a proactive step in terms of getting engaged and offering support in any manner. The task force sounds wonderful. You got sounds like a lot of interested people willing to step in and help. I guess my question just comes to, because, you know, the urgency of this is, you know, I sat on a bunch of different committees and what have you, but is the governor shared any thoughts or any information in terms of a timeline, in terms of any expectations of, you know, moving forward at all?
she has lots of expectations, being someone that I've had the pleasure of working for her now for 11 months, and there are, you know, I don't want to speak for her in terms of like her approach, but she, you know, I think she said this when the announcement was made, like, she does not want to consistently just be an executive who calls task forces for the purpose of having meetings and everything. I mean, the real point of this 3-month sprint was to come away with tangible actions and dig up things. That, you know, I give Todd a ton of credit because, you know, one of the things that this has caused us to do is like look under every agency and every place where can we find meaningful ways or even small ways just to like move the ball forward. And that's kind of really coming from the governor of saying, you know, look, what are the actions and that we can be taking. So and that's been really useful to have that thought. I was had some really good conversations with the Oregon State Parks and Rec, and hadn't even thought about what they have to offer. But I think Oregon State Parks will have an opportunity to be a productive partner for the Central City. So I think what I would say from what she is bringing to us is constantly like, what almost on a weekly basis, what actions can we take and what can we do to demonstrate that we are, you know, serving the public.
Well, you know, you have myself, and I'm sure the rest of the commission as a whole want to be of support and equally care and passionate and do whatever we can. As a small business owner, I know that every day, you know, we're impacted by this, and that's why I brought up the urgency piece and timeline. And you know, I think that's an important piece because the communication of the work that this task force is going to be doing is so important to the residents, business owners, and especially the tourism industries with looking at conferences that's coming into town, because we need to every step away just to communicate what we're doing and the effectiveness of the results as well. And it's a timing thing. I mean, it's not something we can put off for a year, but we need to look and have some expectations fairly soon.
Well, I hope you come on Monday, or at least read the recommendations.
Vince, thank you so much for your presentation today, for spending time with us. And apologies for the number of questions that are effectively asking you to foreshadow what's already being shared with us and the public on Monday. Earlier in your comments, you mentioned the RCTP, the Regional Cooperative Tourism Program. I have to thank you for reminding us of that and of its importance. Oregon's 7 tourism regions are all of critical importance, and we've talked a little bit this morning about the need to make sure we're doing an effective job of communicating throughout Portland's 7 regions, Oregon's 7 regions, what life is like and what their expectations should be about Portland. It's not wasted on any member of this commission that there was a time before the pandemic where the Portland region was responsible for more than 40% of all statewide lodging taxes collected. And of course, that has tragically shifted. And many of the questions we're asking you, I believe you and certainly Governor Kotek have the rightful expectation to redirect right back to us in terms of, and as you already began in your comments, as our obligation to help support the gateway to the rest of the state, to make sure that we are all rowing in the same direction. Thank goodness for your statewide leadership, but also the partnership that you've brought in with the counties, with the city, with the regional government, with public and private partnerships to ensure that as a state, we are fulfilling our obligation to uplift the needs of this community upon whom we have relied and from whom we have benefited for so many generations. We haven't made much mention in the topic of public safety today about the programming that currently exists in Portland in partnership with the Portland Metro Chamber we enjoy the Portland Clean and Safe program. It is a nationally recognized, unprecedented success, so much so that in the spirit of public and private partnership within Portland Clean and Safe's enhanced service district, we have seen a very recent investment in an enhanced hotel safety district to ensure that we are extending the hours of operation, the number of uniforms that are on the street, the ambassadors program, the cleaning program, to make sure that we're creating a welcoming environment that Travel Portland can then communicate to the industry, that we as a statewide commission and Travel Oregon as a state representative body can help communicate to our cities, to our counties, to our region, and obviously nationally. But I will be the first to say that none of this can be successful without the leadership that's coming from Governor Kotek's office. And so I wanted to use this as kind of a lengthy and protracted way to say thank you, thank you, thank you for everything that you and the administration are doing on behalf of, selfishly, a downtown Portland hotelier, but on behalf of a grateful industry as well. Thank you.
Of course, and I think the governor hasn't given it a second thought. Like, I think she sees it as a real opportunity and a need. But the one thing that we definitely I acknowledge too is the recommendations that are going to come forward on Monday are not going to solve every challenge. I think what it really is intended to do is lift up and identify there's an opportunity for even more robust public-private partnership to help move, like you said, having us all row in the same direction, and we're going to look forward to that heading into the next year.
You know, just echoing what Scott just referenced, speaking a little bit more broadly, Vince, I would just echo that this industry has felt the leadership and the respect and the engagement and the awareness of Governor Kotek. You know, a year ago at the leadership summit, the business summit, she had just been elected. She stood up on the stage and she committed to her One Oregon tour. And before she was even sworn in, she'd already started visiting counties. She was going to get out to all 36 counties and she was going to do it in a year. Wasn't even sworn in yet. She engaged with the tourism industry at one of her inaugural events to make sure that all of Oregon felt represented, whether it was culturally or from a culinary standpoint. Oregon, the entire state of Oregon, was present at that event. She's engaged with our office on that One Oregon tour to tie tourism assets and businesses into those experiences as well. And I happen to know firsthand that our First Lady is a fan of dark skies and made sure that she took in a dark sky experience when she was in Southeast Oregon. And it was also a real honor to sit down with her when we distributed our biennial plan and budget. And she requested time with us to be able to sit down and review the plan, and it was not lost on me and the other members of the Travel Oregon team that were there. She'd read the plan. She was well versed in the plan, and she wanted to share what it was that really intrigued her about the plan and where she saw that hope and promise. So again, as has been, I think, sensed here today, it's kind of like on behalf of a grateful commission and industry, you know, we're very appreciative of Governor Kotek's leadership and appreciate you being our conduit to Governor Kotek and our representative in the governor's office. So thank you, Vince.
Well, thank you, Todd.
Mm-hmm. All right. Commissioners, we are dutifully running a little bit ahead of schedule, and I think that affords us an opportunity to take a break. So we're going to pause now. That's going to give Mr. Bricker an opportunity to get teed up here, because we want to give you a little of the Travel Oregon, a little bit of a peek at the work Travel Oregon is doing in this space that we've been hearing about today so far, and some of the ideas we have to come. So let's break until 10:45. We'll reconvene at that time. So thanks, everyone. If we can all find our seats, please, we'll continue on with our agenda. Well, that didn't go anywhere. All right, everybody, thanks for finding your seats, including you commission folks. All right. Commissioners, are the next update that we want to bring to you is a deeper look at the work that Travel Oregon has been doing, and Scott Bricker on the Travel Oregon team has been leading much of this work, and so has offered to bring this presentation to you today. So Scott, I'm going to turn it over to you.
All right, thank you, Todd. Chair DeNovo, members of the Commission, I'm Scott Bricker. I serve as Director of Destination Services in the Destination Stewardship Department at Travel Oregon. So yeah, really excited to be here in front of you today, and the framing for this morning has already laid the context of why we're here. We've heard about some of the challenges, and then we just heard from Vince about some of the potential solutions. I am here with actually a panel. As you can see, there's multiple seats. We just couldn't all fit in at one time, so I'm going to stand up after my presentation of partners and leaders who are doing this work, collaboratively leaning in, pulling on the rope in the right direction to support help the activation and revitalization of Central Portland. So on the panel today will be Billy Moser of Travel Portland, Burke Nelson and Ness Zolan from Prosper Portland, and then Christina Fuller from Fuller Events and the Waterfront Blues Festival. But first I want to kick off and share a little bit about how Travel Oregon is participating in this space with these partners and leaders in the city. So starting in 2021, soon after COVID hit, Travel Oregon had already started working to support the state with recovery programs such as the Destination Ready program and our competitive grants program. Those programs put about $3.5 million across communities in the state, and there were more than that. We had our tour operator guides and outfitters grants and other efforts to support communities and businesses to help get through COVID and some of the challenges. However, we still recognize, and as we have the data today, that there are significant struggles to really bring Portland back to where we want it to be. And so Travel Oregon has continued to lean in specifically in this space in Portland. And there are three areas that we've leaned into that I'm going to just quickly overview. One is providing support for signature events and activations. In partnership with Travel Portland, we've been investing in a number of those events, including the Portland Rose Festival, Portland Pride, the Waterfront Blues Festival, and PDX Live, which just in a year alone, just among those events, brought in over 1.2 million visitors into Central City. And we know that when those visitors come, whether they're from out of town or local, they are supporting the businesses, they're helping have eyes on the streets, and there's all sorts of positive impacts associated with those at all times of the day and night. We also did a collaboration with Prosper Portland, who also you'll hear from today, to help plus up the grant programs that they already have underway that are going towards sponsorships of events throughout the city. And I always like to throw a picture of my family in, when I can, into a presentation. So that was us at Dinolandia when that was downtown last year. So you'll hear more from Prosper Portland about their programs, but we've been really proud partner to work to help amplify and plus up the work that they're doing to get more resource out to events from around the city. And then finally, we've provided funding for some specific focus activation. You saw the Central City map that Vince put up there, and many of these are from additional events and activations on key neighborhoods that need the support, such as the South Park blocks, with an example is the Paseo event, the Central East Side Industrial District with their Design District, Old Town Community Association, and a number of events, many of them focused on equity and diversity. And a few other events that we've done that are really targeted at key areas that need the support. Travel Oregon is continuing to plan. We're planning to continue to invest in Portland in this biennium. We're working on those plans right now, so I don't have a specific plan to show you, but I'd be happy to come back and talk about it at a future commission meeting or just outside the commission. But we are a partner in this, working with the folks who are about to have come up to continue to support the activation and revitalization of Central Portland. So with that, let's have the panel come up. I'm going to step back, and Billy's going to speak first, but why don't you all come on up?
Well, thank you so much for having us. We're thrilled to be here, and thank you so much, Scott, for inviting us. So to introduce myself, as Scott said, I'm Billy Moser with Travel Portland, and some of you might know me for having overseen the international program scope of work for quite a few years, but since 2020, I have additional scopes, and I'm deeply proud to talk about those today. First, talk about visitor services, and you heard from Megan already, but I do want to say the objectives for visitor services to enhance visitor experience, to drive longer stays, and to serve residents. The visitor center was definitely designed for residents as well, to have them be proud of their city, as we've been hearing, and to invite their family and friends, as you asked earlier, because we know they drive a lot of the reputation. You already saw this map. I just want to add a little bit to what Megan already said, and that is that we're only 2 blocks away from Powell's City of Books, a major attraction for us here in the city. I also want to say that we have aligned with what you are doing at the Welcome Centers, which is our brochure distribution system. We're working now with certified folders, just like you. And our Portland region's brochures are, of course, as well in our visitor center. And I do want to say a quick thank you to Allison and Stephanie from your Welcome Center program. Next, community engagement. At Travel Portland, community engagement is our partner services department. We are a membership organization, and we call our members partners, and we have 1,600 members, 1,600 partners, and community engagement programs, education, as well as networking. Right now, a networking event is going on, which is our 42nd annual holiday open house. Since none of you can be there, I brought you a little bit of spirit right here, holiday spirit. But community engagement hears from our partners that education and networking is what they want, and we communicate with them monthly through our industry update, as well as our Good News newsletter. So I hope you're all aware of that. All that coverage that Megan put up there comes out to our partners through the Good News newsletter. Of course, the objective is to strengthen the tourism industry. In rebuilding of our organization, Travel Portland's partnership program was re-envisioned in 2020 and reorganized to dedicate a staff member within community engagement to manage destination stewardship efforts. That is Jen Parks, who's doing a fantastic job, and he's at the open house networking with our partners, so she cannot be here. Over the last 2 years, Travel Portland has developed 3 distinct programs to invest into the community, to create vitality, and to increase economic impact. The first of the 3 programs is our new grant program, focused on tourism infrastructure and enhancement. And I'm not going to read to you what's on the screen. These projects were selected for their positive impact on the visitor experience. Milagro Theater, for example, was not just selected for the appeal to leisure travelers, but also because of the proximity to the Oregon Convention Center, and they have a capacity to host groups as well. Looking ahead to the next cycle, and yes, we do have a next cycle, and yes, it was adjusted. The funding was adjusted because of our revenue pictures. You heard Jeff Miller earlier, but we will continue this program. We will prioritize projects with an immediate impact as we have great need for assets that will drive demand. The second of the three distinct programs focuses on large events, or as Scott just said, signature events in Central Portland. So we're supporting large visitor-facing events that bring people into the central districts. Just between July and December of 2023, almost 36,000 visitors came to the central city, and 4,600 of them are estimated to have been overnight visitors. We do this program 4 times a year. The third of the distinct programs is a partnership with our valued colleagues at Prosper Portland at the new Office of Events and Film, and you will hear from them about this scale-up grant program. I do want to talk a little bit about why it is important for Travel Oregon and Travel Portland to support the Office of Event and Film. This office plays a crucial role, not only for the partnership in these scale-up grants that you will hear about, but also for the short, mid, and long-term health of large events in the city. From permitting to street closures to capacity building of these event producers. We need one coordinating office in order to revitalize the city, downtown specifically, and to grow the leisure demand. In addition to providing technical assisting for capacity building, Travel Portland is also working to identify geolocation data solutions that will help us compare attendance at these events year over year and track growth of the out-of-town attendees. In summary, these 3 programs and what came before those 3 programs, since January 2021, Travel Portland has invested more than $1 million to create vitality and to drive demand. These investments are by Travel Portland, the DMO, with Portland's Tourism Improvement District fee dollars, so the TID, as you've heard mentioned earlier, and of course our local transient room tax, TLT dollars. Please know that Travel Portland also activated our RCTP funds. $75,000 for event support, $100,000 towards phase 1 for wayfinding in downtown, and support for public restrooms, as you've heard, in Pioneer Square, with more than $60,000. Our downtown, as you are hearing, has a major gap in public restrooms, and no kidding, for a while I was called the restroom lady in the office. That's all I kept talking about. I was proud of that, just so you know. We are also working on the RCTP strategic investment right now for this fiscal year that is mandated, which will add another $36,000 into these investments. So all in here, we're speaking about $1.3 million to activate the Central Portland in destination stewardship tactics. Before moving on to additional investments, I do want to say thank you to Scott Bricker for his partnership and the financial support he continues to spearhead for Portland events and activities. It matters. But I promised you some additional investments. Additional investments are made in our local community and partners throughout our organization besides the destination stewardship budget, and I'll share a few now. Ticket to Dine. We heard our restaurant and food and beverage partners loud and clear. They wanted a food promotion bag that has no lift or minimal lift for themselves. So for the chefs, the entrepreneurs, the owners, the makers. That is what they told us they needed, and that is what Ticket to Dine is designed to do. It was important to us at Travel Portland to accommodate the now many more casual dining restaurants and the many food carts, many of them immigrant-owned, versus not only the sit-down restaurants that can serve 3 courses, as we had prior to the pandemic. So in 2023, these scratch of tickets that you see on the screen were distributed to the participating outlets, 48 of them, and you could scratch off and win some awesome prizes. Ticket to Dine will come back in March of 2024, this time for whole months, and double the geographic area, again focusing on central Portland where it's needed the most. Here's a quote from one of our participants from March of 2023. Our EDI team's focus in their sponsorship focuses, of course, on events that celebrate and promote Portland's diverse communities. Highlights are on the screen for you right now. But please know that we have supported more than 30 events so far this fiscal year. Finally, we are making investments to meet our local advocacy objectives. That same objective includes Travel Portland's extensive elected officials and stakeholder work, as you heard from Jeff Miller today, politics and finance, and he ran off to the open house as we're expecting elected officials at our holiday open house as well. Last fiscal year, we conducted resident sentiment survey, so different than what Megan told you about, so resident sentiment survey. And that confirmed, sadly, I'm big sigh, what we already knew, that a negative perception of Portland is shared and perpetuated by many locals, many of them living outside of the city, who have not visited the city in some time. Our marketing team is implementing different strategies, and you see that on the screen. Paid social media to locals from a 10-mile radius out of the central city, and again, focusing on events and activations in the central city, and we're also have added Google AdWords to that buy. In addition, we're doing direct financial support for partners who are activating and doing the work in downtown, such as Shop Small, Win Big holiday shopping campaign, Downtown for the Holidays, and oh my gosh, I think there's an ice rink coming. The investments in Ticket to Dine, our support of diverse communities events, our marketing and public relations efforts focused on residents, focused locally, total more than $650,000 since July. To finish my presentation, again, I want to thank you, Scott Bricker and the Destination Stewardship team, Allison George and her team at PDX Welcome Center, and Michelle Woodard for her grants experience that she shared with us. We thank you for your support that you're giving to all of our Portland partners and us at Travel Portland. Please know it really matters. And with that, I'll turn it over to my colleagues.
Check. Okay, great. Thank you so much, Billy. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Burke Nelson. I'm the manager for the Office of Events and Film. With me, I have my coworker, Ness Zolan. And I want to thank Scott for inviting us to provide some of the information on the things that we've been working on. So our office was created in 2021 with the auspice of breaking down the silos that exist between the private, public, and nonprofit sectors. Our goal is to make it easier to host events, assist with cleaning up streets around the events, assist with permitting, and also providing grants for event producers. I was extremely encouraged by the words that Vince shared today, because either we're already doing the things that he's requesting, we're in the process of doing the things that he's requesting, and we are working towards doing the things that he's requesting to bring the city back and actually move towards a future of what this new reality is. And I'm also equally encouraged to take a look around the room and notice that we are in the room with a lot of the partners that we currently work with. We've got, Travel Portland, Megan, Billy, and Marcus Hibden. With Travel Oregon, Scott and I are already strengthening our relationship. And then we've also got Christina Fuller of Fuller Events, Mike Thielen, formerly of Feast, and Marcus Harvey of Portland Gear. So these are all people we currently work with. Thank you. Next slide. So we're also working on our Objective 3. And as you can see, a lot of it focuses on the central core. In addition, the Portland Events and Film works to support the Advanced Portland Strategic Objective 3's goal to foster a vibrant central city and commercial districts. And as we have been talking about today, the heart of the state of Oregon is the central city of Portland. And so if you can imagine it beating and then feeding out to the rest of the state, that is what the goal of our office is trying to do. Next slide, please. And some of the ways our office works towards retaining and increasing commercial activity and supporting small businesses in the central city are through the events and film production services, the events and film grants that Nessa is going to talk about, and our every Wednesday. Next slide, please. Okay. The next section of work we'd like to share with you is Objective 3, as I already talked about, but this is aligned with the priority to attract more visitors through events and activation, the renovation of the public realm, and support for regional cultural organizations. And now I'm going to pass to my colleague, Ness Zola.
Wonderful. Thank you, Burke. So I want to take us back to 2021 in the heart of the pandemic when Mayor Wheeler and council members decided to set up this events action table where in a time of isolation, it was an opportunity for some of the major events producers in our city to come together, to connect, to share resources, and to identify the needs of the events and creative industries to help Portland get back on track to being the beautiful city that we know we are. So within the first few months of that action table in 2021, several goals were identified, two major ones. And those were to create an office of events where there is a go-to navigation resource to help with all of the various city bureaus in public safety and sanitation and cleanliness, permitting, and to help those events producers navigating all those aspects to make sure that they can succeed with the events that they're producing. The second major goal was to invest more deeply in events because we know that they're revitalizing Portland, they're attracting folks to come back to the city. That original events action table started with 12 people. Over the course of the following 2 years, expanded to over 500. It's now a quarterly meetup, and we just announced our steering committee of 5 individuals, of events producers here to help guide our work. That events action table led to the creation of this Office of Events to be combined with film. One of the ways in which our office is investing directly in activations is through the Every Wednesday campaign, essentially finding vacant nodes and vacant spaces throughout the city of Portland in the central city and creating little pop-up events, exciting times, exciting events, music, theater, comedy, different aspects of arts and culture to come in the heart of the week into the heart of the city. We're also working on those types of activations throughout the holidays in the central city and also throughout the entire city. So event production services, I kind of touched on what we are designed to do based on the needs of the events action table and the producers. We work with so many bureaus and jurisdictions to make sure that events run smoothly. The events action table runs currently as we speak. And we have identified a couple of new grant programs and opportunities that have been teased by Billy and by Scott that I really want to share with you all today. The first of which actually is just investments in major events. City Council, alongside our kind of guidance, there has been identifying of a handful of major events to invest in that attract over 500,000. If you add the Rose Festival, as Scott mentioned, over 1 million people into the central city. That's close to $20 million of economic impact, and we're just seeing that grow because people want to come downtown for these events. The community event grant I want to highlight as there was a question earlier in a conversation about how are we driving other Oregonians and Portlanders actually into the central city? Well, we're doing that through the community event grant. These are awarding up to $5,000 of awards to community event producers. We kicked it off last spring, and we're supporting 151 events through this coming spring. We received over 500 applications to this particular program. And so far, we've received 88 impact reports of the events that we have been supporting. And we've seen that there's an economic impact of over $6 million specific just to these small events. The Scale Up Grant Program, a very exciting partnership with Travel Portland, is designed to help mid-sized events grow and attract visitors beyond the 50-mile Portland metro region. The applications closed on November 6th, and just last week, the selection committee got together and we identified the 3 awardees. We're not quite ready to announce them yet. We're very, very excited, but I'll tease out, looking forward to some theater, comedy, and food for us to be celebrating and partnering with. We're going to be investing $25,000 into each of these 3 events alongside Travel Portland's assistance with promotion and some other technical support that our office and Travel Portland are offering to these really worthy events. And so I just want to take a moment and say, thank you to Travel Oregon for helping support the community event grants and the investments and the activations, and looking forward to a lot of the programs that our office has and that we're investing in, and to Travel Portland, and to our partners in the private sector and the events producers, such as Waterfront Blues Festival, Portland Winter Lights Festival, and Music Portland Month, and a lot of the big events producers. Thanks. I'll hand it back to Burke.
Thanks, Ness. And I also want to give a shout out to 2 sponsors, Travel Portland and Travel Oregon, that are sponsoring the outdoor ice rink that we have starting on December 16th that will be going to January 28th. This ice rink will serve as an anchor through the holiday season into the new year. The rink is accompanied by a woodsy winter village, featuring a pop-up marketplace, food, warm beverages, and a cozy lounge. Throughout the ice rink season, we will host a variety of other activities, drawing visitors both far and near to downtown. And Megan doesn't know it yet, but we're going to have a race on the rink to see who's fastest. But that is something that our office is very excited to put on for the city, and to have people coming from outside the city to come and enjoy in the holiday festivities. And with that, I'll pass it to Christina.
Thank you so much. I'm Christina Fuller, Festival Director of the Waterfront Blues Festival and co-owner of Fuller Events. Fuller Events is an event management and production company here in Portland. I own with my husband, and we get the opportunity to support a lot of major community events, including Portland Pride, TEDx Portland. We met while working on the Rose Festival. We've had our hands in a lot of the big community events here, but also beyond. We do work in the Willamette Valley. We do some stuff in Central Oregon. We've been out on the Oregon coast. But to us, Portland is home, and the Waterfront Blues Festival really is a representation of what events in Oregon and what events in Portland really mean, and demonstrate the impact. So I'm thrilled to be able to share with you just some quick highlights of the impact of the Waterfront Blues Festival when it comes to our role in travel and tourism. I think we used to think primarily that we wore the hat as event producers. We know how many porta potties and where to go and where to pull the permits. And now we see the impact, especially in the last several years, of what live events mean to our city, to our economy, to our morale. And it's obviously been echoed from everyone that's sitting up here and has spoken earlier today. So for those that don't know, the Waterfront Blues Festival is a 4-day July 4th celebration down in Tom McCall Waterfront Park. And in 2023, we celebrated our 36th year. And we will enter into year 37, July 4th next year, starting on July 4th with fireworks. And so I'm thrilled to share some stats coming up next that really are demonstrating how important the investment is in live events. Just as recent as a couple months ago of what we're looking at for who's showing up. This is time for the video to roll, and I'm going to chat over it. For those that haven't been to the festival, we had over 45,000 fans this year, 4 stages, 4 days, and we sit there along the river of the Willamette and bring music to our fans. We're thrilled this year to really feature partnerships and collaborations in a way that is truly Portland and truly Oregonian, working with Mike Bennett, the illustrator of Dylandia. I was seeing Scott show a picture with his family, partnering with our friends at the Portland Spirit, programming blues cruises on the river, doing pop-up performances with the Hillsboro Hops and the Portland Pickles. We were doing promotional stuff in advance with Sunday Parkways. We're actually programming stuff right now with Pioneer Courthouse Square for the holidays. So beyond the 4 days down in Waterfront Park, The Blues Festival really is something for our community and is a demonstration of the collaboration of all that's good and all that's creative that we've come to know and love. And so it's a pretty magical snapshot of the summer, and we call it the unofficial kickoff to summer here in Portland. And somehow the weather plays ball, and it turns to sunshine here. Quick look at our fans. I think something that we've been talking about here is buy-in from our Oregonian neighbors, but also serving as a travel destination. 67% are Oregonians. Of that, 80% are from the Portland metro area. So we're getting our local neighbors to come to the festival, and we're also getting fans to travel. And that's a very sweet and unique spot. And I think one of the factors that plays into that is the diversity and the multi-generational of the festival, which is demonstrated by 15% of our fans being new to the festival and 25% of them coming for 20 plus years. So we've captured a new fan, a new person to Portland, someone who's moved here recently, and we have folks that build their summer and their annual calendar around that. And I think that really adds to the appeal, to the inclusivity of the festival, is that we have something for everybody, and that music does that, live events do that, experience do it, festivals do that. So that's something we're really proud of. Looking at the next, let's see here. Maybe an assist with getting to the slide that says Blues Fest by the numbers. There we go, thank you. So as I was mentioning, we had 45,000 fans this year, and 27% of them, which split 23 and 4%, were staying in a hotel or in short-term lodging, which is pretty tremendous. And one of the pieces on top of that is that over 60% were staying for 4+ nights. And that's pretty impressive that we still have so many local fans. That also, with these sort of impact numbers, our team stays at hotels even though we all live near. It makes for the really long hours more possible. And in the morning, I get on the elevator and there's a gentleman, and I sometimes make small talk, and sometimes in my head I'm trying to figure out what fires need to be put out on the morning of the festival. But I asked this gentleman, "Where are you from? Going to the festival today?" He's like, "Yeah, I go every year. It's my vacation." "Where are you from?" "Beaverton." Staying at the hotel with us. I mean, and that was like a really proud moment of neighbors being here, that he called this his vacation, but it demonstrates just how this is our festival, our being, you know, everybody in the room, everybody in the city, and everybody in the state. We're really proud of the representation on our stages as well, with half of our acts being BIPAC-led and 25% female-fronted bands. Representation on stage is intentional. It's also an investment into our music community. About half of our acts are local and regional, which means our talent fees and money are staying local, and we're serving as one of the largest music events on the calendar year in Portland, which is why we love this place. Is there's something to do, and keeping musicians employed, we've learned, is essential, because when they don't have a job, it's no longer an opportunity to hire them because they've taken a job as a banker. So we're really proud of the work that's being done there in terms of getting folks to put their heads in beds, but also have really impressive and talented folks on our stage that represent our industry and our city. Some good news of what we're doing, in addition to all the challenges that we're all sharing in terms of bringing people back to Portland and trying to figure out ways to increase foot traffic. It's obvious that foot traffic increases when there's an event and they have a ticket and they're showing up to be there to see something you're doing. But we saw this year a 31% increase in VIP tickets, which is noticeable, which means people want experiences. People are treating this seriously. They're spending their money on these sorts of experiences. And these supplementary quotes are from an October report from the United Talent Agency, where people are showing that we spend money to travel, and these are the memories and moments of, like, this is why we do it. This is important to us. And so just seeing that 37% of folks will travel to a festival, that's what we're trying to do. And we've been really grateful, especially over the last couple of years, for the support of Travel Portland and Travel Oregon and Prosper Portland, to see the value of a homegrown music festival turn into a key partner and ally in terms of moving the needle and moving the ball down the court, all of those things to bring Portland through this and move forward and make sure that we are here for 37 more years. So it's really been noticed, as Billy finished her comment, is that it matters. And as a small business owner and a producer that survived the pandemic and puts our heart and soul on the line and really leads and serves as a steward of a community festival, I want people in this room to understand the investment is critical. And as Vince was saying too, is that for this flagship signature events, these things exist, but it requires investment and attention. And I think the trends and the conversations that we're seeing about how important they are give my heart a little bit of hope and continue the work that we're doing. So thank you for supporting our community events in Portland, seeing the role that they play for our state, and also continue to invest in the magical moments. There's something about Waterfront Park and the sense and place that this couldn't happen anywhere else. This is not a fairground in the middle of nowhere. This is Portland, Oregon. These are our bridges. These are our friends and our neighbors and our river, and the sense of place feels right at home, so thank you.
Yeah, thank you all for your presentation. And Scott, thank you for the leadership that you bring to Travel Oregon in this space. It certainly wasn't lost on me how much appreciation there is for you and the work of the agency overall. And Christina, it also wasn't lost on me that one bullet point on one of your slides that 23% of the folks at the Waterfront Blues Festival visited other parts of the state as well. So you're not only a destination magnet, but you are also then helping disperse visitors throughout the state of Oregon and helping drive visitation for the state as well. So, as are you all. So, thank you for that. Commissioners, questions for this panel or for Scott?
Just a comment. Christine, I had goosebumps. I've attended that festival for many years when I lived in Portland, so thank you for the passion that you bring to it. Billy, thank you for mentioning the Good News newsletter. I received that. It's one of the favorite. I live in Coos Bay, but I love the Good News newsletter, so thank you. And I didn't know much about your organization, so really the work that you're doing is tremendous, and so I just appreciate all of the efforts that you're doing to make the great city of Portland better, and to make it easy for people to put on events because it's so incredibly difficult. So thank you.
I would like to say thank you as well. I'm going to start with the Blues Festival. It's always been one of my favorite events. I am curious, though, in terms of the mix of that geographic piece you showed. Have you seen a shift? What you showed here, is there a difference before COVID in terms of international visitation, what have you? So that mix is kind of important as well. And Billy, so proud of the work that Travel Portland has done in that community engagement space. The Mar-a-Lago Theater, I happened to, I think it was last month I was there, and it was so refreshing is that, to see the Latino community come together, and then all the other stakeholders or partners there as well engage. And sometimes we forget Portland is made up of so many different cultural groups, and each and every one of them needs to be recognized and elevated throughout our city. And for the film part, oh my God, I think we all know the impact it has on bringing visitation to our state as a whole. So thank you for all your work, and look forward to seeing a lot more.
Any other questions or comments at this time from commissioners? Travis.
Thank you for the presentation. Billy, on the technical assistance program for the marketing PR, how has that been received? Because that's kind of the barrier some individuals just can't cross.
Yeah, that's part of the scale-up grants in partnership with the events office. You mean that technical assistance? Mm-hmm. Yeah, we made it part of, we recognized that mid-level events, if they wanted, if they want to become big events, large events, signature events, that it wasn't just about money. Obviously it's about money, they need financial support, but actually there's a lot of technical assistance that's needed. So Travel Portland, depending on what the event needs, again, I cannot tell you either who won. I was part of that selection panel, but We, Travel Portland, will give marketing and public relation technical assistance, and of course, that will include how to market to out-of-town visitors. So I think, but then the Office of Events and Film will give technical assistance for the events producers on the production side and things like that. And I do think that it was extremely well received because it is about financial assistance, but it's also about that technical assistance and that resource that we as experts can share. So I think it will have a big impact. This is the first time we're doing it. We're excited about the next rounds already and hoping to make the investments in the future as well, but I think it's a big piece of it. But we don't know yet how it will be received, but we think it will be received really well.
Thank you.
All right. Harish.
I just want to thank you for everything you do. It helps the area, but events like this made me come to Portland and stay in Portland, so thank you.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thanks, you guys, very, very much. Appreciate your time being here today and bringing forward the presentation for the work you do year-round. Commissioners, our final presentation from your staff team today is being brought to us by Harry Delgard. Harry is our Director of Regional Services. This is an update, if you're looking at your agenda, that is called the Regional Cooperative Tourism Program and Wine Country License Plate Regional Distribution Program RFP Update. Harry now wins the award for the longest title for any agenda item that has ever been placed on an agenda for as long as I've been kicking around here. But in all seriousness, this is obviously a program that is a significant part of the work that we do at Travel Oregon. 20% of the statewide transient lodging tax received by Travel Oregon is dispersed to the regions through contracts and relationships that we have with our regional destination management organizations each year. And Harry's going to provide us with an update that's a little bit more administrative in nature this time. Sometimes we're talking about programs and dashboards. This one's a little bit more administrative in nature because of the nature of our relationship with the RDMOs in terms of contracts, RFPs, and the like. So, Harry, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thanks, Todd, and thanks, Commissioners. So we've heard RCTP mentioned a lot today, and it is my pleasure to give a general programmatic update, and then also today to announce the intention of opening a request for proposals for the Regional Cooperative Tourism Program. So. First, I'll dive into just a general update. So my colleague, Kate Sapel, and I have recently completed our quarter one meetings with our regional partners. These meetings basically function as a quarterly business review where we go in and have an opportunity to check in with each RDMO about how plans are progressing, get an overview on what's happening, and really come to understand where opportunities are to maximize and leverage the work that's happening regionally with Travel Oregon teams. We also ask our regional partners to develop budget versus actual documents, and we go over the financials during this point in time as well. So with that, we take all that information from those quarterly business review meetings, and we compile those into a dashboard. We are currently in the process of updating our dashboard, our publicly accessible dashboard format right now. We're shifting contractors to a new contractor, Rove, and they'll be utilizing the Domo data platform, which is super exciting from our perspective because other teams at Travel Oregon use that same platform, and we'll be able to overlay and cross-tab more investments, more actions that are happening outside of just RCTP. So you'll get a broader picture of really what's happening regionally when it comes to additional outside investments. So we were hoping to have a draft dashboard available today, but just in terms of the contractor's workload, we weren't able to produce that. But in future meetings and in future commission packets, be prepared to see a new dashboard that is definitely more comprehensive than ones that we've had in the past. We're also in the midst of an agreed upon procedures reporting process. This is basically a financial review process where we work with a third-party CPA to just provide financial accountability additional means of financial accountability for the Regional Cooperative Tourism Program. So we're rounding the final phases of this report. We anticipate it being done this month, and that will also be, the finalized report will be distributed to the Commission as well. So just wanted to give you an update there. And then lastly, in terms of general updates, I wanted to touch on an exciting new program area called the Collaborative Regional Investments Program. And this was initially discussed at the October 22 Commission meeting, I believe, in Hood River, where we really talked about the idea of working with our regional partners in a different way and really working in tandem with them to execute key priorities in Travel Oregon's 10-year strategic vision document. So we're kicking this process off this January and February, where we'll be working with our regional partners to develop project concepts and investment avenues to directly move the needle on priorities that have been highlighted as do-it-now priorities in our 10-year strategic vision. So really exciting and a different way to work with our regional partners. So I know the regional services team is stoked to be working on this, and I think the teams at Travel Oregon are also excited to really have some tangible ways and tangible investment angles to directly affect programs, programming contained within our 10-year strategic vision. So this slide that's up right now, the RCTP designation protocol and history slide, is really foreshadowing the RFP slide that I will share with you next. But I just wanted to remind the Commission about really the last RFP process that occurred in 2019, and just some overall considerations that the Commission really takes part in regards to RFPs for the Regional Cooperative Tourism Program. So the last designation process for RCTP was in February of 2019. The Commission decided at that point in time to designate for a 6-year term comprised by 3 separate biennium contracts. We're coming to an end of that 6-year designation term, so it makes sense for us to open up the RFP process again. So that's really where we are right now. With that, we are rolling in, just because we love acronyms in RCTP world, what I might think is the largest acronym employed at Travel Oregon, the OWCLPTTPP, Oregon Wine Country License Plate Tourism Promotion Program, into RCTP and Regional Services Administration. So we're combining these RFP processes because of the similarity in programming and similarity in administration of how these processes will occur. So there's just a lot of efficiencies in us doing it this way. But yeah, today we're announcing the intention of opening this RFP process starting in March of next year, and running an evaluation period for that RFP process from March really to mid to end of May. These details and dates aren't incredibly finalized because we of course want your input as commissioners in terms of how that process unfolds. But we do hope to have commission action and designation happen in June of 2024. So if there were to be any sort of change in that dynamic, it would give existing organizations a good amount of time to wind down and a new organization to ramp up if that were to be the case. So that's really kind of what we're proposing at this point in time in terms of the RFP. Otherwise, happy to answer or take any questions you have about the RFP process.
All right. Harry, thank you very much. Commissioners, any questions for Harry at this time?
Harry, just a comment. I want to thank you for yesterday, for the deep dive into this program. I tease you about acronyms all the time, and so I'll see if I can remember OWCLPTPP. But I also, I just wanted to, again, make comment of really ask the question, why are we putting Oregon wine country into this RFP planning process?
Well, happy to chime in here. But the Oregon Wine Country License Plate Tourism Promotion Program, it's not the grants program that I think a lot of people associate with the Oregon Wine Country License Plate Program. But if you look at how the wine country tourism regions are structured, they closely mirror that of Oregon's tourism regions, with the exception of Region 1 for the Oregon Wine Country License Plate Program. So there is a lot of efficiencies in the process, and if you look at how RCTP is set up from a management perspective, you saw that we have quarterly business reviews, we have all these touch points and interfaces where our RDMO partners would also just develop efficiency to check in on that. So really the administration of the program is falling within regional services, and if we are running the process for RCTP, it makes a lot of logistic sense to just combine the processes.
Perfect, thank you.
Yep.
Also because it enhances the quality of the acronym.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I
clearly.
don't know which
that's
is
why
lead
I'm
lag,
yeah.
which is. Harry, I just wanted to thank you for all the work that you do every day and week as it relates to administration of the RCTP program, both you and your partner. Having participated in the process in 2019 and 2017, I want to emphasize for the members of the commission what a solemn responsibility this is for all of us. Our partners throughout the Regional Cooperative Tourism Program, they do so much work to deliver Travel Oregon's programming, to work directly with the consumers, the visitors who make these destinations throughout the state as magical as they are. And so the role that we play, I mean, this commission is a lot of fun. You all are a lot of fun. But this is a really important piece of the work that we're charged with. And so I simply want to thank staff for what you do in order to facilitate the program, and also thank the commission for the seriousness and responsibility with which you take our role in supporting and helping to make the RCTP as great a program as it can and must be.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Commissioner Youngblood.
All right, Harry, we're good. Thank you, sir.
Yep.
Chair DeNovo, that concludes the updates. And in turning it back over to you, I guess the one thing I do want to acknowledge is you heard really solid presentations today from a number of the staff team who are part of the Destination Stewardship Department at Travel Oregon, part of the new organizational design that we've embraced at Travel Oregon beginning July 1 of this year. Harry is certainly part of that with the regional services team. You heard from Scott as part of our destination services team, but also reference was made to, they are not here in the room, but they should, for a really good reason, but Michelle and Louisa, who are part of our stewardship investment team, also part of the Destination Stewardship Department, just recently awarded a whole bunch of grant money around the state. And so there's still that, I guess I'll call it, it's either afterglow or aftershock that comes with the awarding of and going through that entire grant program, but want to make sure that they're recognized as well, although they're not specifically in the room today. So with that, Chair DeNovo, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thanks, Todd. Before we close, I wanted to ask commissioners, is there any other business or comments this morning? No? Okay. Well, Todd, I too wanted to acknowledge Michelle and Luisa's work. And after a very thorough competitive grants application process, Travel Oregon awarded over $3.6 million to 56 entities across the state. I'm so grateful and impressed by the agency's collaboration and learned this yesterday, involving 36 Travel Oregon staff touch points. So it's not just the two ladies doing it, it's almost the entire team to get these funds out the door to communities across the state. I think we'll be getting an update at the next meeting, I hope, Todd, to learn more about some of the recipients of the awards. I would like to take this opportunity again to congratulate Commissioner Ponzi on her recent appointment to the Oregon Wine Board. Commissioner Ponzi and I had a conversation that she served on it a number of years ago, and now she's serving on the board again. And so congratulations, and how lucky they are to have your leadership. Our next meeting will be in March, just ahead of the 2024 Oregon's Governor Conference on Tourism. That meeting will be held in Salem, and I know Travel Oregon staff, I was talking to Matthew yesterday, he says they're all ready. All the work is done. There's nothing left to do. That's on record. I don't know if he's in the room today, but I really want to thank them for their hard work in developing the content to ensure our industry partners have an opportunity to engage and learn from one another. And I'd like again to thank the staff and our local partners for a wonderful meeting. And with that, our meeting is adjourned. Thank you.